Hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Benji-Sales live chat. It's so good to be back. It is so good to see everyone. Hello. I hope you're all doing amazing. Sorry for no live chat last week. I really apologize over that. Having a little bit of depression issues. That usually hits me this time of year, but it's no excuse, so I'm sorry about that. But it's good to be back. It is so good to see everyone, and honestly, between last week and this week, we have so much gaming news to talk about. We have a lot to discuss. So I'm expecting a pretty big chat today. So if this is your first time ever as part of my live chat, basically the way this works, this is a stream, this is a show that's 100% driven by you, your comments, your questions, and there's going to be two ways to do that. First of all, of course, as always, there is the free method. You just type a question, drop it into chat, and I get to as many of the free questions as I possibly can. However, if you want to 100% guarantee that I get to your question, the way to do that is going to be the super chat option. Type a donation, whatever you want, and of course, super chats get priority. However, as always, don't feel pressured, don't feel obligated to go into super chats. It's just a way to help support me and the channel. But I get to free questions too, tons of them, and I expect we have a lot to talk about today. So make sure you start dropping those questions now because it's already filling up, and we got a lot to talk about. So what are some topics we can discuss today? First of all, kind of like the latest breaking news. God of War, it's coming to PC. That's right. Sony continues to have its slate of big games, right, coming to PC. Tons of them, it seems, right? This is just yet another on a long list. We can talk about what this means for God of War itself, what this means for future PlayStation games, what other games might come, and so on and so forth. Of course, also we got news out of NPD that PlayStation 5 was the best-selling console in the month of September. That's a pretty amazing result, and it ended an incredible streak for the Switch, where it was the number one selling console for 33 consecutive months. It went almost 3 years as the best-selling platform, and that streak has ended. So PlayStation 5, number one selling console in September. I'm going to break down the top 20 software for you really quick as well in just a second so we can talk about those games. We saw some great performances from software in the month of September. And then another big topic that just came out via Axios reporting, I believe it was Stephen Totillo that reported this, Game Pass below Microsoft's forecasts. Now, to be clear, Game Pass is still growing, so that's a very positive sign that we are still seeing growth out of it. However, it grew by 37% year over year last year, and the expectation was 48% growth. So they kind of missed their forecast by about 10%. I think that there's some very key reasons for that, though, that we can break down and that we can talk about exactly why they missed that forecast and whether this is all doom and gloom or maybe not quite as bad as it looks. Though, of course, missing your forecast is never always sugar and rainbows. I also think it's not quite as bad as it looks on a surface level because I think there are some key reasons why it didn't do that. So let me really quick give you that top 20 for the NPD really fast, and then I'm going to start diving into your comments and questions. We already have a whole bunch, so I want to get rocking on these questions soon. So your number one selling game for the month, Madden NFL 22. Madden continues to just dominate. Number two was FIFA. Number three was NBA 2K22. So you can see sports games, number 1, 2, and 3. Sports, this is kind of sports game season, right? This is when these games launch. Of course, they're leggy games. They're going to be around all year. But we're in that season right now where, they really blow up because that's whenever they release. So top 3 games, all sports games. Here is the incredible result here. Tales of Arise comes in at number 4. That's very impressive. It was the best-selling game of the month that was not a sports game, and it also set a new franchise record for Tales, right? It was the highest revenue ever generated by a Tales of game. We know that this game was the fastest selling entry in the series worldwide. It did like 1 million units in a week. Tales of Arise is just a huge success. For a JRPG to rank that high, keep in mind, JRPGs, while they're they're big games in terms of like us hardcores. They're not typically games that like top the sales charts outside of like Final Fantasy and like a few others, right? So especially a game like Tales, which isn't usually this strong, that's an amazing result for Tales of Arise. Number 5, we have Diablo 2 Resurrected. Number 6, we've got Deathloop. Number 7, Black Ops Cold War. Number 8, Ghost of Tsushima. Ghost of Tsushima continues to just have excellent legs. Number 9 here, Spider-Man Miles Morales. Again, 2 very leggy games for PlayStation. Number 10, this is a bit of a surprise and a positive one. Life is Strange True Colors. And that set a new record also for the franchise in terms of revenue at a launch month. Now, I think it's very important to note Life is Strange True Colors is more expensive than the other Life is Strange games, so that does give it an advantage in terms of having the biggest launch ever in revenue for the series, but that's a good sign, right? I was a little worried about this game. I personally loved it, but it wasn't getting a ton of buzz on the internet, so I was a little worried that it was underperforming, but being top 10, most revenue ever for the franchise, that's actually a surprisingly good result there for Life is Strange. Number 11, we've got Mario Kart 8. Number 12, Diablo Prime Evil Collection. Number 13, Sonic Colors Ultimate. 14, Minecraft. Number 15, WarioWare Get It Together. 16, Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Number 17, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Number 18, Animal Crossing New Horizons. Number 19, we got Modern Warfare 2019. And rounding out your top 20, Mortal Kombat 11. So a lot of good results there, honestly. September was a great month in NPD. We saw some very strong software performances. We saw, like I said, PlayStation 5 have a great month for PlayStation 5. And it's looking good. So I'm going to start diving into your comments and questions. That's kind of like our highlight stories. But of course, we can talk about anything video game industry related here. I see multiple super chats. So let me dive into those first before I start hitting your free questions. Plastic Hearts Podcast here with a 5 super chat. Benji Boy, I've been seeing predictions online for Sony releasing their own PC portal, like Steam, Epic, etc. How likely do you think that is? I think that this is not impossible at all, especially as Sony continues to have more and more PC-related releases, right? I mean, it's very clear. I mean, this isn't like a short initiative, right? And we kind of knew that. We had comments from Jim Ryan before saying that there was a whole slate coming. They went out and bought a PC porting studio in Nixis. So there was like a lot of signs. Hey, PC is going to become a big initiative for Sony. And now we have, literally flagship titles. We had Horizon. We have had Days Gone. Now we've got God of War. I expect basically all PlayStation games to eventually hit PC. I don't know that all of these games are going to come out day one. That's what you're kind of seeing some people say that, PC day one for PlayStation games. One comment I made on Twitter is that I think you might see like multiplayer projects launch day one on PC. I don't think that's impossible, right? If there's like a big shooter that comes out of Sony, I could see that hitting PC day one because it's really important on multiplayer games to have, really big player counts. That's really what drives those games. But like their single player games, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, the next Uncharted or The Last of Us, I don't see those games hitting day one on PC, at least through the PlayStation 5 cycle. Could be totally wrong on that, but I think Sony likes the strategy they have right now, where it's like, hey, launch a game on consoles first, make sure you get that user base, and then, maybe 2 years and potentially less. I think we could see some games within a year hit PC, but I kind of think that's their strategy. But in terms of, like, could they have their own portal, their own launcher? I could definitely see this, because you're not splitting revenue with somebody like Epic Games or, Valve and Steam. However, here's one thing I do want to say. I do not expect that you'll ever see Sony have like a exclusive launcher to where they're not going to release their games on Steam. They're not going to release them on Epic Games. If they ever do have their own launcher, I think it's just going to be an additive thing. Like, hey, you can use our launcher, or you can get Steam, you can get Epic Games Store. And I could see them doing something like, hey, you can earn an additional platinum trophy if you play the PC version through our launcher, right? A way to kind of attract some of those double dippers on PlayStation to kind of move over to their launcher. hey, earn trophies here. We really connect with your PlayStation account through our launcher. I could totally see something like that. Yeah, totally. Thank you for that super chat so much, Plastic Hearts Podcast. Timmer here with a 2 super chat saying, keep being awesome. Thank you, Timmer. You keep being awesome as well. Thank you for always being so supportive. Thank you for being in like literally every chat, basically from the beginning. Thank you so much. Kelligrim here with a 10 super chat. What is up, Kelligrim? So good to see you. We haven't seen you in chat in a while. It's great to see you, man. What's up, Benji? With Sony opening up a raffle for a chance to buy a PS5, how many do you think they set aside? Is this a legit way to get more consoles out there or a way for Sony to gauge demand? Well, Kelligrim, one thing I can comment on, and I can't go like too into like NDA details here because, I work for a retailer. I'm not going to sit here and say NDA stuff. What I can say, Kelligrim, what I'm seeing is Sony is getting a lot better about doing shipments, right? Whenever these consoles very first came out, it was like, maybe once a month that you would see a shipment coming of PS5s, right? For like different retailers. I'm not saying like one batch period for the month, but like, Best Buy would get one once a month. Target would get one once a month. Walmart would get one once a month, et cetera, et cetera. I'm seeing definitely more frequent restocks of PS5. And we just saw an amazing month for PlayStation 5 in September in the US. So I would say inventory is improving, Kelligrim. It is rising, but we're still, of course, nowhere near meeting demand. I don't expect Sony to be able to meet demand even through next year. I think we're still going to see sellouts through the majority of 2022. But they are getting better. So the odds of getting a PlayStation 5, they are going up, okay? It is getting better. I can definitely say that, but we're still nowhere near meeting demand. So is it a legit way to get more consoles out there? I don't know. One thing we just saw, this is a bit of a spinoff, but it's related to what you're saying here, Kelligrim. It's really annoying. The pandemic has shifted so much shopping online. So much shopping. And we were already headed in that direction, right? There was already tons of people buying online, but the pandemic really pushed things heavily that way. And we're getting to a point now that any item that's remotely in demand, whether it's an Xbox mini fridge, whether it's a console, they just sell out instantly, right? People are using bots, people are doing all kinds of things. And again, none of this is new, but it's more heavy than ever. And what's happening is it's creating these really difficult scenarios for people that legitimately want to buy something to get it, right? So I think Sony doing things like, hey, here's your, attach your PlayStation ID, and, maybe we're going to set aside a batch and hopefully get them to actual consumers. I would like to see Microsoft adopting things like that. So we're still nowhere near meeting demand on PS5. Not going to happen through even next year, but it is improving. It is getting better slowly. Thank you for that super chat, Kelligrim, and it's great to see you, man. Plastic Hearts Podcast here with another super chat. That's your second one. Thank you so much, Plastic Hearts, with a 10. With PlayStation getting more comfy dropping titles on PC, one big advantage Xbox has is I can play the same save file across xCloud, console, and PC. Think Sony would ever do this? Yeah, Plastic Hearts, for sure. This ties into, like I was saying with your first question, I think if they did their own launcher, they could really do that, right? They could really do that. Obviously, it's going to take some tech. It's going to take some things like that. Microsoft is definitely ahead of the game of Sony when it comes to like PC accessing your games everywhere. It's really because Microsoft was more aggressive about that earlier than Sony, right? So Sony's playing a bit of catch up in terms of the PC space. But I think that they could do that, and I think my guess is if they do that, it might be through their own launcher. I don't know if they'll have it integrated where your save crosses over with the Steam copy. I'm not going to say it's impossible. We'd have to see how it'd work out. But I could definitely see that being a way to attract people to their launcher, right? Come in, your saves transfer, you can earn an additional platinum trophy on top of your PlayStation trophy, right? You get the PlayStation Platinum, you get the PC Platinum. Might sound silly, but a lot of people love trophies, right? So that's a way to more bring people into your launcher. So yeah, I could see all this kind of stuff happening. Would not surprise me at all. And thank you. That's your second super chat. Thank you, Plastic Hearts. Real Radic here with a 5 super chat. Thank you so much, Real Radic. Uncharted movie trailer take. How much do you think it will gross in its box office run? If this turns out good, could people be excited for more PlayStation products? Well, my take that I kind of posted on Twitter, Real Radic, I think the Uncharted trailer was better than I expected. Now, let me put this into context, okay? My expectations were not very high. So keep that in mind. When I say this looked better than I expected, I don't think, like, I did not watch this trailer and think, wow, Uncharted to me, the movie looks like a 10 out of 10. That wasn't my vibe at all. But it did look better than I thought it would. And what I will say is, if you are a fan of the games, right, like basically all of us here are, or are very familiar with the game, I bet you're going to be more judgmental on this than someone that's not familiar with the games at all, right? I tried to look at it, like when I was thinking about it, like how would this look to just an average moviegoer? Because really that's who they're trying to sell this movie to. Don't get me wrong, they want the fans of the games to come out and watch this, but they know they've already like sold you on Uncharted if you're a fan of the games, right? This is a way to bring people that don't play games, right? Or maybe if you play games, you don't really play like PlayStation games like this, right? Maybe you're playing other types of things. The real draw of making these live action experiences, whether it's a movie, whether it's a TV show, it's to just hit a different audience, right? Again, I think they want you as a fan of the Uncharted games to go watch this too. But if you had to choose, like your priority is Sony, do I have to, if I could just have mostly fans of the game love this, or mostly people that are brand new that have never experienced Uncharted before like this, I think you want those other people. So I think if you're not familiar with the games at all, it looks like a fun action, almost, National Treasure, Indiana Jones kind of vibe. And I think they did a pretty good job on that. Now, again, to me, Tom Holland, as someone familiar with Nate, he doesn't feel like Nathan Drake to me. The tone to me is particularly what's off. I think his looks good. I think he obviously looks younger than Nate does in the games, but he looks pretty good. The problem is Nate is more confident, I feel like, than what he portrays in this trailer. In the trailer, Tom seems really unsure of himself. He kind of looks like worried all the time. And Nate in the games, yes, even when he's young, he's just like so confident in himself, right? Almost like a ridiculous level. He truly believes in himself, and he's always funny about things and cocky and confident. And Tom just didn't give me that vibe. And of course, we have Sully played by Mark Wahlberg, which is just a weird choice. Doesn't feel like Sully. If anything, Mark Wahlberg in this trailer feels more like Nate than Tom does. But overall, I think it was like a decent trailer. I think it was okay. I didn't love it, but it was better than I thought it looked. I thought there was a real chance this could be a train wreck. Like when they announced the casting, and I like Tom Holland, but whenever I first saw Tom Holland is being Nate, and you have Sully being played by Mark Wahlberg, like what is going on here? I thought there was a real chance this could look like a disaster, and I don't think it looked like a disaster. It just looked okay. So if it's box office run, I'm not expecting anything huge, but it could do decently well if they really nail that. Hey, this is a National Treasure, Indiana Jones type vibe. I think that could get some people to come. So, an exact box office prediction, I don't know. This to me does not look like 750 to 1 million to 1 billion type grosser. I can't see anything like that. But could this do a few hundred million? Could it get into that 300 million plus range? I think so. Yeah, I think it's possible, right? The movie could be trash and not hit that, but if it's good, I could see it getting into that 300 million, maybe 400 million if it gets like a China release and things like that. All right, man, so many super chats piling in. Thank you so much, everybody. Timmer72299, thoughts on the Reset Era Exodus and the new forum installbase.com, which Dark Detective helped launch. Yes, I'm on that forum. Plus thoughts on NPD Group being acquired by a private equity firm, Hellman and Friedman. Thank you so much, Timmer, for the super chat. Thank you so much for that. The Reset Era Exodus to installbase.com. I am on installbase.com. Basically, for anyone that doesn't know what's going on there, it's basically a new forum that's kind of like dedicated to sales, right? It's just basically a sales forum. I don't like to come on Twitter or my YouTube and do any kind of drama type stuff. Like anyone that follows me for any period of time, I think you guys know that. I don't like to get into drama. I always say all the time, do I have my issues with Reset Era? Yeah. I mean, I was on there yesterday and people were just randomly being mean to me and I don't even post on that forum, right? I'm just reading threads and this is something you have to get used to when you're a public figure, but like I'm just scrolling through a thread, reading stuff, and then boom, there's just mean comments about me when I haven't posted there for years. And it's not fun, right? It's not fun to just constantly be reading mean things about yourself. And there are tons of people on Reset Era that are super nice to me, right? There's people that post, my tweets in Xbox threads that get posted in PlayStation threads, and I'm super thankful for that, right? It's awesome. But there is some very mean people on that forum. I don't think that's like a mystery. People know that. There's some very mean people there, but there's mean people everywhere. So, I stopped posting there a long time ago. It's been years now. And, part of that was my fault, right? I made some enemies on that forum, and I don't think I was innocent in that, right? When I was on Era, I'm not going to go super long on this because I know some of you don't care, but when I was on Reset Era, it was like the worst time in my life. And it wasn't because that forum. It was literally I was in the lowest point in my life, just the most crippling depression I've ever had. And I was basically an alcoholic at that time. Like I was drunk all the time. So like half the time I was posting on Reset Era, I was drunk. So, it was not good, right? It was not good. I didn't behave as well as I should have. And I think I'm a much better person now than I was then. But it was something I wanted to put behind me. Install base to me feels like a fresh start. I hope that it goes well. I think the people in charge of it are people that I really like, people in that sales community. So yeah, I'm very optimistic. I've joined Install Base. I'm on that forum. If you guys want to join it, they are taking registrations right now. Keep in mind, this is a forum kind of focused on sales. So it's not really a place that you're going to want to go and just talk tons casually about games. But if you want to talk about sales stuff, that's I think going to be the new place outside of like Twitter and stuff, but in terms of a forum. So, I'm hoping it goes good. If things start to go bad, if people start to be just mean for no reason again, then yeah, I'm going to bounce out. But for now, I'm feeling good about it. And in terms of NPD Group being acquired, I'm a little worried. I'm not going to lie. I'm a little worried that this could result in even less public info. Anyone that's followed NPD for any long period of time, literally like every year, it seems like we get less and less and less and less information as these companies try and hide more and more and more data behind paywalls. So it could be nothing, right? It could be that nothing changes. NPD reports, we get basically as much as we have now. There is a chance that maybe we get even a little bit more data. But I would say, Timmer, that I am slightly, I'm just slightly worried that this could turn into even less information. And for those of us, if you follow me, odds are that you like to, you're interested in sales and how games are performing. I'm always rooting for more data out there than less. So it's a worry. It's a worry. I don't think we should panic or anything like that, but it's a thing to keep our eyes on for sure. And thank you for that super chat, Timmer. Frostbite Slash here with a 5 super chat. Thank you so much, Frostbite Slash. I wasn't in the last stream, and I know it's old, but I'm glad they finally announced the Blue Point acquisition. Yeah, I can now leave Herman alone on Twitter, LOL. Yeah, Frostbite, I agree. That was a pairing that just made sense, right? I mean, Blue Point was one of those studios. It made sense to be a PlayStation first-party team. They've been working together now for years. It just felt right. You know what I mean? Like there's some acquisitions that might feel a little unnatural at times or ones that seem somewhat random on a surface level. I think pretty much everyone can agree, whether you're a PlayStation fan or something else fan, like Blue Point being a PlayStation Studios just felt right. Kind of like Insomniac, right? Whenever the Insomniac acquisition happened, it was like, yeah, that makes sense. Insomniac feels like a PlayStation studio already. That I think Blue Point's the same way. So yeah, I'm very happy about that. Congrats to Herman, congrats to PlayStation, congrats to Blue Point. I expect that to be a great partnership in the future. Plastic Hearts with a 5 super chat. Thank you so much, Plastic Hearts. I think that's like your 3rd super chat. Lots of super chats today. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Don't worry, free questions. I'm going to get to free questions too. This is going to be a beefy stream today, okay? There's a lot of topics to talk about. So all those free questions, do not worry. I'm going to be hitting tons of those as well. But the super chats have been incredible today already. So Plastic Hearts podcast with another 5. Thoughts on these Splinter Cell rumors? Seems more legit this time around. Are you a fan of the series? What would a new Splinter Cell look like? It's a great question, Plastic Hearts. I think it's probably real, but as always with rumors, you can never know for sure, right? You can never know for sure, so I'm not going to say this is a lock. But here's the thing. With current Ubisoft, I'm just going to say it, and I apologize if any Ubisoft employees watch this afterwards, or even if you're in chat right now. I am very, very concerned for Ubisoft right now. Like, massively. I am more concerned about the future direction of Ubisoft than any publisher in the industry right now. Again, all of this free-to-play stuff, all of this, frankly, in my opinion, doing weird choices on games could pay off in the end, right? You never know until you get there, right? Everyone can make bold predictions. Everyone can make bold proclamations. We can all feel confident in our predictions, and we can be radically wrong. Maybe, all these free-to-play games they hit big, they make tons of money, and those of us that doubted it look foolish. However, I'll say I'm extremely worried. Ubisoft to me feels directionless. They feel like they're making a lot of strange choices, and they feel like a company that's just chasing trends. Like, that's the vibe I get. Like, they're trend chasing. And again, I could be totally wrong, and this isn't meant as an insult to anyone there making those decisions. It's just my opinion. I'm not confident about their future direction at all right now. So any rumors of new games coming out of them, it's a worry for me. It's definitely a worry in their current state. I will say I hope it's true. People are clamoring for a new Splinter Cell. It's a massive mistake if this is a free-to-play game. This needs to be a great, solid Splinter Cell game. What could it look like? That's a great question. We don't see too many games in that stealth genre anymore, right? Especially now that Metal Gear Solid's basically dead, even though there might be ways they can bring that back. But with Kojima not there, we'll have to see what happens, right? We already have rumors of a Metal Gear Solid 3 remake, but there's not a lot on the market in that genre right now. So that does give it a nice place. I would say if they really want to bring Splinter Cell back, of course it needs to keep that great gameplay. It needs to keep that great stealth focus. I'd say that you go heavy on the narrative. Like, if anything we've seen with PlayStation, these narrative, story-heavy driven games, you can get a lot of sales for them, right? You look at God of War, you look at Uncharted, you look at The Last of Us, you look at Ghost of Tsushima, you look at Horizon. I mean, I could go down the list, right? I would say that you lean into that. You go really story-heavy, really narrative-heavy, really sell it that way. Again, I'm not saying you compromise any of the gameplay for this. But I think that might give it a nice window. Because if you just do like a straight stealth game without a hook, I don't know how big that audience is anymore. So I think maybe the thing you do to kind of stand out is, hey, look at these production values. Look at how amazing it looks. This is going to sound like blasphemy, but you could do maybe open world. Not fully open world, but maybe like big hubs for levels. Almost like a Hitman style. You could maybe do something like that. But yeah, there's some interesting things they could do, for sure. I hope it's true. Benji with a 5 super chat here. Thank you so much, Benji. Hi, Benji. OLED wins NPD in October. Yeah, for sure. But who wins in November and December? Your hardware top 3 for each month, units and dollars, please. Great question. So here's the thing. Next month, Switch will take NPD. Like, I can just tell you that right now. October, it's going to go right back to Switch. So yes, PlayStation 5 outsold Switch in September. It was a great number. October is going to be straight back to Switch being number 1 in October NPD. You can just basically already count that. So yeah, October, you have that OLED launch. They're going to take the month. November and December, I'm actually also going to both predict for Switch, to be perfectly honest with you. I think Switch is going to take the holidays. Now, Switch is a huge holiday performer, like massive. December for Nintendo is huge. November for Nintendo is huge. So it's hard for me to see these supply constrained consoles outselling Switch during November and December. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but I think it's really unlikely. The thing is, it gets very interesting next year. In 2022, I'm just going to say it, I expect PlayStation and Xbox Series X and S to outsell Switch fairly often throughout the year as long as production's there. Switch has been on the market for a really long time. I do believe that 2020 was the peak year for Switch hardware and that we're going to just slowly see declines, right? Slowly. I don't think Switch is just going to fall off a cliff. It's just going to, like, kind of what we saw with the Wii, right? Wii was super front-loaded. That console fell off hard. Do not expect to see that with the Switch. We already know it's not going to happen because its legs are already better than the Wii's legs were. So, it's just going to be a slow decline. I think that production is going to improve next year for PS5 and Series X and S. And I think next year, I don't know the exact number of months or who takes which exact month, but put it this way, you're not going to see Switch go on another gigantic run like it just did, right? That was an amazing run. It was a legendary run. It did almost 3 years. That's not going to happen anymore. Next year, you will see PS5 and Series X and S outsell it fairly often. Will Switch take some months? Yeah, I'm sure it will. But it's not going to be like, hey, Switch is going to, take 12 out of 12 months or 11 out of 12 months. It's going to be way more competitive. So I think these consoles are still too supply constrained to take November or December from Nintendo. I could see Xbox outselling PS5 in one of those months. These consoles are very competitive in the US. I can't go into any more additional details, but they're very competitive. I could see Xbox maybe taking one of those over PS5 and PS5 taking the other, but it really comes down to shipments. Like, I know it's a bit of a cowardly answer, but I mean, literally right now in the US, it's just about what you ship. You sell every console you ship. So if in November PlayStation ships more consoles than Xbox does, it'll take November over Xbox. If Xbox ships more in November than PlayStation does, Xbox is going to take November over PlayStation. It's literally about inventory. So it just depends who has more inventory. But I think Switch takes November, December, yeah. Thank you for that super chat. Holy cow, Kellegrim with a 50. Oh my goodness, Kellegrim. Wow. Dude, you did not have to do that. Kellegrim drops a 50 into the super chat saying back payment for missed chats. My lunch break is up. Be good, my dude. Hope you feel better. Kellegrim, that is, dude, you really did not have to do that, man. Thank you so much. That's incredibly kind. Thank you, man. I'm kind of speechless over that. That's crazy. Thank you so much, Kellegrim. I hope you're doing well, man. And thank you for asking, saying that I hope I feel better. I'm feeling a bit better today. I'm not gonna lie. I was so depressed last week. It was unbelievable. This time of year is bad for me, y'all. Bad, bad, bad. I get so depressed. It's scary sometimes. But I'm feeling better this week. Last week was a bad one. Yeah. Thank you so much, man. That's incredibly kind, Kellegrim. You're an amazing dude. Thank you. All right. We have 2 super chats left. Thank you so much for all these super chats. And now we're about to dive into free ones. Seth Lediv here with a 2 super chat saying much love from Casablanca, Morocco. That's amazing. Thank you, Seth. I love to see people from all around the world in chat. It's like my favorite thing. I love that, we can all interact all around the world nowadays. It's incredible. Thank you so much, Seth. Thank you so much for that super chat. And then we have Timmer with another super chat saying, Benji, I know your pain. I also work in retail. Yeah, this time of year is rough, right? For anyone in retail, it's not fun. This is about to be the hardest part of our job is about to be, what we're going into right now, right? That holiday season is the toughest part. My depression isn't only from that, though I would say it's not a great contributor to it. But anyone in retail, shout out to you. We're about to go on a very stressful time. All right. Super chats are cleared. Thank you so much, everyone. That was amazing. Thank you so much. Let's start diving into your free questions. There's tons of them. Thanks for a great turnout today. Thanks for all the support. Thanks for being amazing as always, y'all. Let's get your free questions rocking. The Deadly 8. Hi, if rumors are true and Square Enix is selling Crystal to Xbox, don't you think it's a bit harsh that they didn't give them a second chance with a new Tomb Raider game and only one game failed for 25 plus years? Deadly 8, right now, I'm going to say I don't think that Xbox is going to acquire Crystal as of now. Could be wrong. But as of now, I'm going to say it's probably, here's the thing. If Perfect Dark comes out, it's like incredibly well received. It sells a ton of units, or it gets like crazy, Game Pass usage. I could see a scenario where Microsoft really wants them now as a studio and really makes an attractive offer for Square Enix. That sort of scenario I could see. I think my stream might be dying. Let me know, everyone. Yeah, I'm getting an error. Hopefully you can still see me. This isn't surprising. This kind of stuff happens. If you've ever been part of my streams, the stream buckles occasionally. It's just the internet around here. I am hardwired, so hopefully things hold up, everyone. Hopefully they hold up. If the stream crashes or buffers a little bit, it usually fixes itself. Just give it a minute. But yeah, my hunch is that as of now, this is just a partnership. I saw the interview that Matt Booty did with Kind of Funny, and he basically said, yeah, we worked this out. We had people from, there's the head of the initiative, right? He used to work at Crystal Dynamics. So it was just a relationship that really made sense. So as of now, I just think it was a deal that worked out, that the opportunity arose, the studio was available, they had a past relationship there, and Microsoft needed more people to make Perfect Dark happen. So it was just kind of like a perfect scenario. But for now, I'm going to assume they're going to stay with Square Enix unless, like I said, if Perfect Dark's a huge hit, then you might see Microsoft really be like, hey, Square Enix, let's work out a deal here. We're going to make you a really attractive offer. I think if that happens, you could see it. Yoda Soda. Bluepoint has been making remakes and remasters since their inception. Isn't it weird that they will make a new IP rather than make remasters/remakes? My guess, and this is just a guess, Yoda Soda, it's probably something Bluepoint's been wanting to do for a while, but they didn't have the support, right? Keep in mind, like you said, they've been doing remakes, they've been doing remasters, and they were licensed to do this, right? Whether it was PlayStation or even before PlayStation, back when they were doing stuff like, I'm pretty sure they did the Xbox 360 port of Titanfall, if I remember correct. So that's basically how they were getting their budget, right? In order to get a budget, they needed to do a remake, they needed to do a remaster, or they needed to do a port. And I think that's really probably just like, even if you wanted to do your own IP, that's how your budget, that's how your money's coming in. So you can't really do it. Now that they're owned by Sony, they have some more of that freedom. I will say, I hope, and it's just a hope, I hope that Bluepoint is able to, also still do some awesome remakes maybe on top of their own IP. Give them that both kind of thing, right? Let them make a new IP, but if Sony decides that they want to remake one of their own franchises, that Bluepoint could do that because they're so good at it, right? The studio's just so talented at that. So I would hope that we get to see some more awesome remakes from them in the future. There's a lot of money in that, but it also makes sense to me that they get to finally do their own new IP, and that's such a talented studio. I can't wait to see what they do. I think we have more Super Chats pouring in. Holy cow, Super Chat City today. My goodness. Trunks WD, what is up, Trunks? Good to see you in chat with a 5 Super Chat. I used to work retail as well, and this time of year sucked. Yeah, it sucks. I wish you the best of luck making it through the holiday season. Yeah, thank you so much, Trunks. I've been doing retail now for, man, how long? Over a decade. I've been doing retail, I mean, basically my whole adult life, right? I've been doing retail probably, man, probably close to 15 years now that I think about it. Been in retail a long time. So it's a grind, My goal, hopefully, eventually, is I get out of retail. I think it probably will happen eventually. But yeah, retail sucks. Retail sucks. Thank you so much, Trunks, and thanks for being in chat. Holy cow, Frostbite Slash here dropping multiple super chats. Holy goodness, multiple super chats. My goodness, Frostbite here with a 10. Multiple super chats. Let's hit these. Not sure if you've seen the 18 billion number that's being reported that Sony as a whole will be spending on investments, acquisitions, etc. What do you make of this on a PlayStation level? In terms of acquisitions, I think they'll pick up Ember Lab, Arrowhead, Lucid, at least 2 to 3 dedicated VR studios, with Camouflage being one of them, and then a studio nobody expected. Then monitor the success of Haven, Deviation, and Firewalk games that Sony fully funded before exploring the possibility of an acquisition. First of all, Frostbite Slash, that is incredibly well worded. Great question. And you make a lot of great points there. So thank you so much for the chats, super chats, first of all. So the 18 billion number, I have no idea how accurate that's going to be. What I will say is definitely Sony's going to acquire more studios. Like I've said before here on this chat, and I've been telling people this for a while, okay? I've been talking on this chat since a long time ago, years now, that we're in a consolidation phase. It's just where we're at in the industry. Again, is every studio going to get bought? No, lots of studios are going to get bought. You literally just saw this week Phil Spencer and Matt Booty both say, both of them, yep, we're acquiring more. We're not done. We need to grow more. In fact, Matt Booty, if you haven't seen the Kind of Funny interview, it's a great interview. And I'm going to get to the PlayStation side of this as well, but I'm using this like for context. Phil basically made the comment with Wall Street Journal where he was just like, yeah, there's no like time frame, like we're not done, we can buy more studios when it works. If you saw Matt Booty follow this up on Kind of Funny, he made it even more apparent that like, not only is it like a what if scenario, like we are going to buy more studios, because he was talking about how the industry's growing and their first party still needs to grow to accommodate that. And he basically was just flat out like, yeah, we're buying more teams. So PlayStation has to as well. Basically, we're in an arms race, right? It's an arms race in the industry, whether you're a third party, whether you're a platform holder, it's an arms race for content. And once you start this domino effect, it just keeps going. If you have someone like Tencent out there that's going to buy teams that you want to work with, if you have Microsoft buying teams that you want to work with, if you have Sony buying teams that you want to work with, like you got to lock those down, because if you don't, there's a very strong chance that somebody else will. And now we have Amazon coming in here with huge pocketbooks, and they're starting to find success. You have Netflix with huge pocketbooks. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's a race for content. So will Sony acquire more? For sure. I mean, they acquired this year, just this year, like 4 or 5 studios already. 18 billion, I don't know. Ember Lab would not surprise me in the least bit. Kina seemed to do very well. We finally got some charts out of that. In Europe, I believe, I'll have to double check. I'm saying this off the top of my head. I think it was number 1 last month in Europe on the PlayStation Network charts. And I believe in the US it was number 3. Now, it didn't chart on NPD, but they didn't share digital data with NPD for that game. And that game was digital only, so it was impossible for it to rank considering digital wasn't shared with NPD. But it seems, considering how small of a team Ember Lab is, Kina did very well. Profitable, I would say probably already, right? At launch. This game is probably already profitable. They're small. They wouldn't be super expensive. I don't know that this will happen, but Ember Lab to me definitely seems like a prime candidate. Arrowhead, Lucid, the VR studios, the things that you're saying there make total sense to me. I could also see them acquiring somebody big, NetherRealm. We know that NetherRealm is potentially up for sale if the reporting from Jeff Grubb is true, that he said that, and I trust Grubb, I like Grubb. He said that that they're doing a Mortal Kombat game next. They're going straight to Mortal Kombat 12 instead of Injustice 3 for the explicit reason that Warner Brothers Discovery doesn't want them working on a DC IP in case they sell them. Like, in case they decide to sell NetherRealm. In other words, they're still thinking about selling NetherRealm. They don't want them, when they sell, to be in mid-production on a DC Injustice game. They want them to be doing Mortal Kombat. That way they can sell NetherRealm and Mortal Kombat together. If that's true, if NetherRealm goes up for sale, we know Sony's getting more into that fighting game space. I could see it. I could see a NetherRealm acquisition, to be honest with you. Again, providing that they're actually up for sale. So there's a lot. There's a lot I could see. Lots and lots and lots. Yeah. And all these new studios that are starting up, like we mentioned here, like with Haven, Jade Raymond's new teams. If these games are successful, these new spin-up studios that we're seeing, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all if they buy them. Not at all. Thank you for those super chats. Holy cow. Benji with another super chat. If it's super chat city, then the mayor is Telegram. A 5 super chat here from Benji. Benji, thoughts on the expansion pack? How Big N can make that $50 price tag more appealing? Ooh, it's expensive. I don't love the price on that. I think it was Emily Rogers. If I'm wrong here, I apologize, but I think it was Emily that stated that the reason this was probably so expensive is that the licensing costs, especially like for the Sega content, is super high. So in order to actually make money on this with the licensing, Nintendo had to go high on the subscription price. It is high. On a surface level, it is really high to get old games. But we'll have to see. Nintendo is so hard to judge because they oftentimes charge a lot of money for things that other people necessarily maybe might not, and they get away with it. Now, to be clear, I'm not referring to like that whole discourse you saw online about like Metroid Dread, which was like ridiculous, right? Where people were saying Metroid Dread wasn't worth $60. I'm deep into Metroid Dread right now. It's one of the best games of the year. That game absolutely is worth $60. It is amazing. But like, you know, you see Nintendo charge some pretty hefty prices on amiibos sometimes. You see Nintendo charge some pretty hefty prices on remasters sometimes that aren't necessarily the most advanced remaster, right? Maybe they just did a little bit of work, but they charge us $60, and you know, we could go down that road, but Nintendo gets away with it. So do I think on the surface the expansion pack price looks really high? Yes. But they'll probably get away with it, right? So we'll have to see. We'll have to see. It's not something I would pay for, but I don't really care about retro games, to be honest with you. I don't play older games. So for people that are into that, it very well may be worth it. I'm not going to be the best person to ask in terms of like, do I think it's worth it? Because no, I won't pay for this. I don't play retro games. I have no interest in them. But a lot of people do. It's not a bash on retro games. A lot of people go back and play older games. So could be worth it for those people, but it's not for me. No, I have zero interest in paying for it. Okay, back to free questions. Miles Morales, do you think the gaming industry consolidation is going to hurt the consumers or benefit them? Could we reach a monopolized gaming industry in 5 to 10 years from now with companies like Tencent and Microsoft? I don't think we're going to get to full-on monopoly scenario, but I do think within the next 10 years, we'll be down to a few players. Yep, I think so, yeah. I mean, it already happened in the movie industry. There's not many big movie companies. There's really a handful. They consolidated down to a handful. And really, the music industry is kind of the same way. Is there tons and tons of indie labels? Yeah. Is there tons and tons of indie production studios for movies? Yeah. But like once you get up to like the big, you know, blockbuster movies or the biggest music labels or, you know, all of that, it's a handful. It's a handful of companies. It's not like 20 companies. It's like 5 or less. So yeah, I think we're going to get to that point. Yep. I think we'll get to the point within 10 years that like AAA production is within a handful of companies. I do think so, yeah. But there will still be tons of indie labels, and there will still be like that AA range. I'm just talking about like the biggest blockbusters, and we're already close to that. But I think it'll be even more so. I think another publisher is going to get acquired. I've said that before. I don't know who it's going to be. Hard for me to imagine it being EA or Activision or Take-Two. But I'm going to be honest with you, I will not be surprised if someone buys Ubisoft. They have a ton of IP they own. They have a massive workforce, and dude, their market cap is not very high. Like, you would spend a lot, but you could get Ubisoft for fairly cheap, considering how much workforce you would get and how many IP you would get. I will not be shocked at all if someone buys Ubisoft in the next 10 years, not even remotely. In fact, I'd be like, yeah, I'm not surprised. If it gets announced, I'd be like, yep, makes sense. Batman Forever. Sup, Benji? I feel like it is a huge missed opportunity that Telltale Games and other kid-friendly developers didn't make a tie game for Toy Story 4 if it is a billion-dollar franchise. Do you agree? Yeah, that whole market's underserved. And you've seen Phil Spencer talk about this. People are just flat out not making enough family-friendly and kid games. There's just not. There's nowhere near enough. Now, does that excite people, you know, like me and most of you watching this? Do we want to go out and play like a Toy Story game or, you know, a Frozen game or a Peppa Pig game, which you're now starting to see, right? Some of that stuff. You know, no, I don't have interest in playing it. But the reality is that's a massively underserved market because there's so much money to be made in AAA games and big multiplayer games and M-rated games that it makes sense why the industry shifts so heavily that way. But if you want to keep the industry healthy and you want to keep getting new players in there and you want to have a diverse, you know, group of people buying your games, you got to start getting more family-friendly and kids games out there. There's just nowhere near enough being made. Nowhere near enough. And Phil Spencer himself literally said that. He said, yeah, you know, family-friendly kid games is an area that we need to invest more in. So yeah, it needs to be done. There's nowhere near enough games like that out there. And it used to be quite different, right? You go back to like the PlayStation 1 era, and yeah, you had a bunch of M-rated games, but some of the most popular games, you know, were the Spyros and the Crash Bandicoots, and like, you know, there was a ton of that kind of content. There's just so much less of it nowadays. Nintendo really is the only one in the industry really driving that. So more people need to, more people need to also get on that. Hamishly Ford, hey Benji, hope you're doing great. I think Sony is now seeing PC as a big pile of cash, absolutely. And their release tactic is great. Should we expect to see PS games dropping sooner after release to PC? Yeah, eventually. Again, I'm not one of these people that believes it's going to happen day one. I just don't believe that. You know, again, like I said, maybe for the big multiplayer projects, but like I can't see Horizon day one, which it's not because it's so soon. But you get what I'm saying. That type of game, the God of Wars, the Horizons, the Last of Us, I really just think Sony doesn't want those day one on PC, but I could see some of them a year after launch on PC. Instead of 2 or 3 years, I could see a year. I don't think that's impossible. Now, is that going to happen immediately? Again, I think probably not. I think it just slowly inches that way, right? Slowly over time as they get more and more comfortable with PC, as their fan base gets more comfortable with PC. Yeah, I don't see those games hitting day one, but I could see a scenario where we start to get to 1 year after launch. Yeah, I could see it. Too much money to be made there. There's just too much money. Games are really expensive, and you're just throwing away money not putting them on PC. Venom Harness. Hello, Benji boy. Hope you're doing good. I'm wondering, do you think it is possible that PlayStation might acquire an RPG/MMO studio and a fighting game studio since they lack both categories? Great question. I already commented on the fighting game part. Like I said, if NetherRealm goes up for sale, I do think you see Sony be very aggressive in trying to get them. So yes, in that case, I do. RPG and MMO, I think they actually probably should because Microsoft is going out there and locking that genre down. I mean, if you look at how many RPGs are going to be coming out of Xbox in the next 5 years, I mean, just what's announced, like games we literally know are coming. We got Avowed, we've got The Outer Worlds 2, we got Starfield, we got The Elder Scrolls 6. I could even be forgetting one. Like, they're making a lot of RPGs over there at Xbox. I don't think Sony needs to go all in, like, oh, we need to buy 5 RPGs, but I think it would be smart. RPG is a giant genre. I think one of their studios making an RPG game would make sense, and they should. Yeah, I do think so. Maybe they don't acquire them. Maybe one of their teams right now they have decides they want to do an RPG, right? A studio can switch genres, but I do think it's smart, especially with how aggressive Microsoft's being in that space, to have an RPG in the works. Yeah, they should. Gary Sanchez, since 2021 is almost over, what do you predict will be the best-selling game in 2022? Well, the boring answer is it's going to be Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Like, that is going to be the best-selling game of next year. It just is. And I know that's really boring, but that is the answer. The best-selling game next year is Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. It's going to be. Modern Warfare 2019 was the fastest selling Call of Duty game of all time. It sold over 30 million units in less than a year. It was like 9 months. They hit 30 plus million sold, which is just absolutely insane. And did you hear the NPD chart I just read out? We're in September of 2021, and Modern Warfare 2019 is still in the top 20 on NPD. Like, it's going to be Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 because that is the Infinity Ward game next year. That is the best-selling game of next year. So let's go for something not Call of Duty and not sports because that's just so locked in. Like, put it this way, the only way Call of Duty is not the best-selling game next year would be if Grand Theft Auto 6 launched, and Grand Theft Auto 6 isn't launching, so it's going to be Call of Duty. So what could be the best-selling game that's not that, not Call of Duty, not sports? That's a great question. Could be Breath of the Wild 2. That game's going to sell a friggin' lot. Breath of the Wild 1's already over 23 million sold. Could be something like that. Starfield, if it wasn't on Game Pass day one, would be a runner whenever you look at how big like Bethesda RPGs are. You look at Skyrim, you look at Fallout, but I expect a lot of cannibalization from Game Pass on Starfield. Still sell a lot, but it's going to get cannibalized a lot too. So, yeah. Breath of the Wild's in there. God of War Ragnarok's in there. We just saw the last God of War's at 19.5 million. Horizon Forbidden West is in there. Those are some, right? Those are some that are going to be some of the biggest games right there, for sure. But number one is Modern Warfare 2. I'm telling you that right now. It's Modern Warfare 2. Bailey's just also asking about that Nintendo Switch membership price. Again, like I said, to me, it does seem high, but again, I'm not someone that's interested in retro games, so your mileage will vary. Deadly 8. When do you think games will achieve CGI level graphic fidelity? Probably next gen. Next gen. I think we'll be there. Now, will we be at, when you say CGI quality, will next gen be like to where it looks as good as like the latest movie that's out, right? Does it look as good as the CG in, Dune or, whatever the next big giant Marvel film is? No. Movie industry is always going to outpace consoles just because it's pre-rendered, right? Like, there's no real time there. It's just a big pre-rendered thing. So, it'll never truly catch up, but will we be at the point next gen where it's like you look at something and you're like, dang, that looks pretty much close, like in concept, to what you envision as CG in your head? I think we get there because look at how good some of these early gen games look. Like you look at Ratchet and Clank, it looks pretty freaking amazing. Not quite to CG yet, but we ain't that far. Next gen. I think next gen's where we're at that point for the biggest AAA games that at a glance, again, it's not going to be as good as the most advanced in Hollywood, but it gets that CGI quality that you think of. I think so, yeah. John's asking about Dragon Ball movie. I haven't kept up with it, but yes, rest in peace to the actor who played Frieza. That's really sad. That's really sad. Young guy. He was only in his 50s. Very sad. I love Dragon Ball. That's sad stuff there. Very sad. Miles Morales with a good question here about Marvel. PlayStation seems the best place to play Marvel games. Do you think this will greatly impact the PS5 sales to be as big as the PS2? Ooh, good question. There's a lot of Marvel fans out there and Marvel exclusives on PS5. Here's the thing. It needs to, it's going to drive sales. There's zero question that Spider-Man's driving sales. No doubt. You look at how big Spider-Man was. And Wolverine, if it's good, I don't know that it'll be as big as Spider-Man. I don't think so. I think Spider-Man will always be bigger, but I could see Wolverine easily being a 10 plus million selling game. If they do more, I mean, if you get to the point where there's like 3 or 4 Marvel games coming to PlayStation only, that's a pretty freaking big draw. Pretty big draw if they're good. A lot of people say, and I see a question down here, actually I'm going to address it right now. A Let's go to this. I'm going to tie it into Miles. Ghost Tunnel says, I'm wondering, why do you think Marvel games don't do as well as the movies? Like Avengers barely sold 3 million units. Regardless of quality, where are the Marvel fans at? Why aren't they buying games? Well, they are when they're good. The big problem with Avengers, again, we have a prime statistic of how big the draw is for Marvel, the idea of Marvel, and that is Avengers on Game Pass. Again, this game's been out for a long period of time now. It's earned the reputation it has, and yet, I just looked today, that game is still in the top 10 most played games on Game Pass, and that came to Game Pass almost a month ago. And that's with people knowing that it's not the best game in the world. But since they're not paying for it, they're still installing Avengers and playing it, right? People want to play Marvel games, but they want to play big AAA good Marvel games. Like I just said, Wolverine, I'm telling you right now, if it's good, it's going to sell over 10 million units. So that's the big problem. The big problem for Avengers, it had the second biggest launch ever for a superhero game in the United States. The only game that launched bigger than Avengers month one was Spider-Man. People wanted an Avengers game. The problem is Avengers had zero legs because the game wasn't. People want single player, big, story focused Marvel games. Midnight Suns, again, I'm not sure how good that game's going to do. I hope it does really well. But the main draw for Marvel is the same reason the movies really are a big draw. People love those characters. They want to see the story. Like, why is every MCU movie always basically a box office success? Because people want to know what happens next. And that's the story. So, if Sony can lock in even more exclusives, it's a big win for them. Yeah, and people want to play Marvel games. They want to. They just want them to be good, big single-player AAA experiences. Forza Horizon 5 and Age of Empires 4 just went gold. How well do you think the games will sell? Forza Horizon 5 is going to be gigantic. It's going to be friggin' huge. Age 4 should also do well if it's good. We saw Age of Empires like 2 and like HD and like 3 HD. Those games have done like amazingly well on Steam. And those are just like, HD remasters. If Age of Empires 4 is good, it should be very successful. Forza Horizon 5 is going to be gigantic. I mean, people don't realize how big that game's going to be. Over 30 million players, I think, for that game. Again, the question with Microsoft is, though, I am of the opinion first-party games are being cannibalized. I think so. I think we're far enough along now we can flat out say first-party games are getting cannibalized by Game Pass. Microsoft's going to come out with other information about how overall it boosts game sales, and I'm not going to contradict that. They have more data than I do. I'm just strictly talking about first-party. They're getting cannibalized. Like, pretty dang sure of it. Now, is it like to the point that these games can't chart, they can't sell? No. Forza Horizon 4, even all these years later, often on NPD is in the top 10 best-selling games on Xbox. It's happened many times. So Forza Horizon 5 is still going to sell a friggin' ton of copies. But are we going to see the full picture of Forza Horizon 5 sales? No. I'm going to play that game on Game Pass. I'm not going to buy it. And if that game was on Game Pass, I'd be a day one buyer. And there's a lot of people like that. So Forza Horizon 5 will be bigger than Age of Empires 4. I can just flat out tell you that right now. Some people don't realize how big Forza Horizon's become. Forza Horizon 4 is one of the biggest racing games in all of history. Over 24 million players, and that was as of last year, and that game is always top 2 or 3 on Game Pass. So, to be honest with you, I wouldn't be surprised if Forza Horizon 4 is at 30 million players. So that game's going to be huge, 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 huge. And Age of Empires 4 I expect to do really good, just not as big as Forza. Musios Garza saying, Benji, what are your thoughts on NPD being acquired by an equity firm? Kind of the same thing I said earlier. I'm just a little worried about it. I'm not panicking, but I am slightly worried we get even less info. I'm always going to root for more data, more info, more numbers, because it gives you a better idea of the industry. But I am a little worried that we get less. All right, we're going to go for about 15 or 20 more minutes, and then we're out. Thank you for a great chat, everyone. Thank you for a great turnout today. Thank you for so many questions. Thank you for an insane amount of super chats today, like crazy. Really quick, I'm going to still keep hitting free questions, don't worry, but if you're in this chat, hit the like button if you like doing these chats. It helps the YouTube algorithm, helps people find my channel, and subscribe to my channel if you're not already. We hit 3,000 subscribers recently. It made me really happy, so thank you, everyone. All right, but we still got about 15 or 20 minutes to hit a few more free questions before we bounce out. Yoda Soda, there's many multiplayer projects in development at PlayStation. If they do extremely well, could they shift focus from narrative-driven games into multiplayer-focused projects, or will the two coexist? Yoda Soda, I think Sony's smart. I think their leadership's smart, and I think the two will always coexist. You know, don't leave the person that brought you to the party, right? Right? You stick with the person that got you here. And the thing that really got PlayStation Studios like to become so beloved is those single player games. However, what I would say is I think you start to see a lot of those single player games add in multiplayer to them, right? So it's not just a single player package. For example, we saw that with Ghost of Tsushima, right? They added in that Legends mode. I suspect you will see more of that in the future. Does that mean every PlayStation Studios game is going to have multiplayer? No, I'm sure there's still going to be single player only experiences, and they're still going to have huge, giant, narrative-driven single player games. Like, I'm telling you, they won't abandon that. But will they do a lot more multiplayer alongside that? For sure, for sure, for sure. It's one of those things you can't ignore, right? There's just so many people that play only multiplayer. Like, my boss that I work with, right? Really like my boss, and he, like, doesn't care about stories in games, and he doesn't care about single player. Like, he likes to go online, he likes to play Apex, and that's like what he's into. There's millions of people like that, right? Just like there's millions of people that feel the opposite. They don't play multiplayer, they only play single player games. So I think it's smart to cater to both. So you'll see a lot of multiplayer, but I'm telling you, don't worry, they're not going to abandon those single player games. No way, no way. That's really what got them to where they're at. I think we just had a super chat. Let me hit that super chat. We did. Highlander 001 with a 5 super chat. Great to see you, Highlander. Thank you for that super chat. Do you ever think we will see Steam games streamed to Xbox or PlayStation? It's a great question. I can't. Oh. PlayStation, I would say almost zero chance. Xbox Slim. Do you guys remember there was that rumor not that long ago that Microsoft is currently trying to get Steam integration with Game Pass to where you can access Game Pass directly through Steam? That would be big. Now, of course, that's not the same thing as a Steam game streaming to Xbox, but that's a big step in a relationship. Like, if they could get to the point where it's like, hey, because right now, keep in mind, if you're on PC, the way you're accessing Game Pass games, you're not doing it through Steam. You're doing it through the Microsoft Store and the Windows Store, and people really hate that, right? People really dislike the Microsoft Store. So if they could get Game Pass on Steam, I think that's really good for Microsoft, right? Really good for Steam, because it makes it way more attractive to that PC community who loves Steam. Just being able to go straight through Steam for your Game Pass games, I mean, that's huge. So if they could get something like that worked out down the road, I'd say that maybe, right? It's a long shot, but maybe you could get to where Steam could get integrated directly onto the Xbox. PlayStation to me just seems like no. They are like, as much as Sony is like starting to branch out into PC and starting to get more friendly with other companies, they're still like so focused on like PlayStation and their console. Like, tough. It's a tough sell. It's a tough sell for me that PlayStation would do it. But I would say if you see either of them, I would expect it on Xbox first. But, you know, kind of an off tangent, I think it's really big for Xbox if they can really get Game Pass with Steam integration. That's huge. That's huge. So I could see why it would be hard to negotiate, though, because if you're Steam, maybe you worry. If you're Valve, wait, if we have Game Pass on Steam, is there that worry that people are going to be buying less games, right? If they're going to be just streaming it directly through us. So I could see why it would be harder to convince, but man, that would be big for Microsoft. That would be huge. All right. All right. We got more time for questions. Don't worry, everybody. Don't worry. Brandon, hi Benji. Does The Last of Us Part 2 being on PS Now a year and a half after release indicate signs of short legs? Well, this is a bit of a weird one because Sony is so inconsistent with sales updates, right? Like we just found out that God of War is basically at 20 million and they didn't do any sales milestones for 15, right? Like they didn't come out and say that's a huge number. Sony didn't come out when God of War passed 15 million and be like, hey, God of War's at 15 million. Like they came out now and said almost 20, which is a shockingly impressive number. But we have no idea. All we heard about The Last of Us Part 2 is its launch sales, and we've had freaking nothing since. I would say being on PS Now a year and a half after release doesn't by itself indicate short legs, but the thing that's tough is a lot of these like really long-term legs, like for God of War and Horizon Zero Dawn, they're being done at cheaper price points and they're being done digital. And that's the kind of thing that doesn't rank highly on like sales charts you see, right? That's the kind of thing like NPD, it's a revenue-based chart. So if you're selling a lot of copies like really late in the life cycle at like $10, you know, it's hard to get high on that NPD chart. So God of War and games like Horizon, they're quietly selling a lot of copies digitally at cheap prices that you're not just seeing in sales charts. So I would say Last of Us Part 2, to me, at least from the charts I have seen, doesn't look like the best leggy game I've ever seen in my life, right? It did look pretty front-loaded, but I don't know that for sure. I don't know for sure just because Sony does like weirdly random sales updates. They just kind of randomly every once in a while throw a number out there. So who knows? Who knows? But I think you'll see games hitting quicker on PS Now anyways, Brandon. So I don't think by itself that game being on PS Now indicates short legs. But, you know, who knows how that game's legs have been. It's just tough to tell. Batman Forever, do you think it is possible that PlayStation will bring back franchises like Sunset Overdrive, Resistance, Killzone via a remaster or sequel, or would they rather make new IPs instead? I'd love to see remasters for basically all those. I would say remakes of those are mostly unlikely unless those studios really wanted to make it, right? Like if Insomniac was all in, they were like, we want to make Resistance. You know, I could see them getting a full-on remake or a sequel. Same thing with Guerrilla. If they like really push hard on Sony, hey, we want to go back to Killzone. I think you would probably see them get that opportunity. But at the very least, remasters are a lot less work. Are they the most easy thing in the world? No, but it takes a lot less resources. I mean, I think you'd probably sell a few million Resistance collections and Killzone collections, right? I mean, I think you'd get a few million out of both of those. So it kind of seems like money left on the table, right? You get like 4K 60 FPS remasters of those. Again, not like full-on remakes, just nice remasters. You sell a few million. You sell a few million of both of those. So I'd love to see it, yeah. I'd love to see it. Otherwise, it's just money left on the table. King Lizard, hello, hope you're having a good day. Is it possible that we might see Ben's new IP, Santa Monica's new IP, Asobi's new IP at an event next year, or is it too early for some of them? You'll definitely, I think, see at least one of those next year. Keep in mind, Sony is not opposed to announcing games super far in advance. They've done it numerous times where they've announced games 2 to 3 years out. It's happened many times. So you could see it, you know. The more likely to me is maybe Santa Monica at the very end of the year. Very end of the year. Like I could see a Santa Monica new IP reveal at the end of next year. They won't announce that before God of War comes out. No chance they announce that before God of War is released, in my opinion. I think they'll wait till Ragnarok's out. Maybe at the very end of the year you get a Santa Monica announcement. Bend, I think, is a little too early too if the reporting from Jason Schreier is accurate, which Jason's basically the most accurate reporter in the industry, and so it probably is, where he said that Bend is heavily helping with that Last of Us multiplayer game. They're co-developing it with Naughty Dog. If that's true, that's a lot of resources on that. And I know that Santa Monica also has a lot of resources on God of War, but they're also building out a second team with Cory Barlog making a new IP. So I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked if you see Santa Monica's new IP next year. I'm guessing we don't see Ben's, though, until maybe the year after that. And Asobi, I just don't know. I don't know Asobi enough. You know, like where they're at. I'm just not sure. Benji. Hi, Benji. Ghost Recon Frontline reception was bad. Yes, it was. Horrible. So much so they delayed it. Literally like the week it was announced. They literally announced the game, like within that week they delayed the game. Well, the play test. You know what I mean. Should we be worried for the Star Wars and Avatar games from Ubisoft? Or those games as a service titles? No. Well, Star Wars is interesting. I would say Avatar, no. That's really not a games as a service. Will it have DLC? Yeah, but I'm sure like basically all games nowadays have some kind of DLC. But it's not designed to be a games as a service game. Avatar is like a big single player, giant, like open world Ubisoft type game. Avatar, I wouldn't be worried in terms of like that it's going to have like forced games as a service elements and free to play stuff. Wouldn't be worried about that. Star Wars is interesting. I'm choosing right now to have faith in it because I think that Ubisoft Massive, they're the ones making it, the ones behind The Division. I think that's a very talented studio. I'm going to choose to be optimistic about Star Wars, but that one I would say you have the greater risk of it having some very weird free-to-play and forced stuff into it. So for now, I'm not freaking out about it, but Avatar itself, no need to worry about that in terms of that. Now, will it be a good game? Who knows? But it's not designed that way. Brad Myers, what game do you think will win the Game Awards? This is so hard to say. You know, Jeff Keighley himself even said it. This year is a hard year to pick a front runner because we have so many games bunched up right next to each other. If I had to pick, like, again, this isn't my game of the year. You're asking me what do I think the media will pick. I'm telling you, I could see it being completely random because I think the vote is going to be so split. I'm telling you, there is no front runner right now. There's just not. Like, so many years you go into it and you're like, it's one of these two games, right? Like, what was it? 2018. It was like it's God of War or it's Red Dead. Like it's going to be one of those two. It's God of War is going to win it or Red Dead's going to win it, right? Wasn't that the year that those were the two in that year? Like a lot of years, you're like it's one of these two games or it's this game. Man, this vote's going to be split. I'm telling you, it's going to go all over the place. So who do I think the most media will vote for? I could see it being Metroid Dread, and that will be really unpopular. People will get really salty about that. I could see a scenario where Dread takes it because it's probably going to be the only Nintendo-nominated title. I could see something off the wall like Returnal taking it just because the vote's going to be so split. I actually don't think Ratchet & Clank's going to get it. I thought early in this year it looked like a front runner, but I don't know. I don't know how you guys feel. Ratchet & Clank doesn't feel like it's had a lot of staying power. Like, I don't really see people talking about Ratchet & Clank anymore. And that game was amazing. Like, amazing. I'm not knocking Ratchet & Clank, but it doesn't feel like one of those games at the end of the year people are heavily talking about. You know what I mean? Like, I still see people kind of talk about Returnal. I still see people talking about stuff like Psychonauts and some other stuff. And Ratchet discussion just feels like it hasn't like stayed with people. So it could happen, but to me, I don't think it's going to be Ratchet. I could see it being Dread or Returnal, honestly. Sounds weird, but I could see it being one of those. But I don't know. It's going to be a weird one. It's going to be who knows. King Lizards, when do you think is the best time for PlayStation to stop acquiring studios? That is a great question. Everyone asks about what's next, but no one says, like, yeah, when does it slow down? Do you think they will fill the void they have when it comes to variety? I suspect you'll always see acquisitions, but I think that this slows down in the next, like, I still think you see a lot of purchases in the next, like, 3 to 4 years. I think once we get past 5 years out, it really slows down. Really slows down. But I think the next 3 to 4 will still see a lot of consolidation. So that would be my guess. My guess would be we see a lot of consolidation over the next 1, 2, 3 years or so, and then it does slow down. Again, 20 years from now, people are going to buy studios. But like, I think this rush will last like 3 to 4-ish years, but that's just a guess. John's asking if Amazon's still working on the Lord of the Rings MMO game. I have no idea. No idea. What up, JCat? Good to see you, JCat. What up, Red Dead Series? What up, Danger Man? What up, Ham Solo 05? No Game Pass questions. I thought that was going to be a hot button topic. I am after these two, these three. Oh, JCat has it. We're coming up. We're good. We're good. We have a Game Pass question because I want to talk about this. So it's coming up. Game Pass discussion's coming up. I got two right before that though. Talal Asan. I apologize if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. Do you think the PS5 continue outselling the Switch for this year to come ahead Benji-Sales? Not in the US. In the US, like I said, I just think it's a production issue. Like just flat out, there's just not enough production. So I don't think that they can this year, Talal. I suspect that October, November, December are all going to go the way of the Switch. Just A, because Nintendo is very strong during the holidays, and B, I just think they're going to have more inventory than Sony's going to be able to manage. But like I said earlier in the chat, I do think you see PS5 definitely outsell the Switch multiple months next year. Yeah. Yep. Next year's going to be where it gets a lot more competitive. Inventory will improve, and Switch will continue to slowly decline more than likely. So next year is where things really, you'll see the charts flip-flopping, I think, a lot. Dangerman1337, Benji-Sales, what do you think November NPD this year? First Grand Theft Auto Definitive Trilogy, 360,000 plus likes on Twitter, insane. Where will a Nintendo first party land? Third, fourth, fifth. So November NPD, it depends how good these remasters are. It could be, man, let's see. What are the November releases? What are the November releases? Let me see something really quick. November 2021 releases. Give me just a second. I want to make sure I see what all is exactly coming out. All right, here we go. So November, we got, for big stuff. Sounds funny, but Just Dance 2022, that's going to be in your top 10. More than likely. More than likely. Man, we got Call of Duty Vanguard, of course. We got Forza Horizon 5, of course. Jurassic World 2. We got Skyrim Special Edition. We got Shin Megami Tensei 5. We got Battlefield. Oh my god. Yo, November's kind of stacked. Wow. Not shocking, but wow. A lot of competition here. We got Pokemon Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl. We got Endwalker. Wow. Okay, pretty competitive freaking month. So what does November look like? Well, GTA isn't confirmed for November, right? They just said this holiday. So it could even be December, right? We don't technically know when the GTA remasters come out. I don't think, unless I missed that. Number one is going to be, let's just assume for now, we're going to assume that the Grand Theft Auto remasters are in November and that they're good. 1 and 2 will be a race between Call of Duty and that. Like, that's the way it is, right? It's going to be Call of Duty and it's going to be Grand Theft Auto 1 and 2. If those are real. If the remasters, I mean, are that month. If the remasters are not that month, it's going to be Call of Duty number 1, like it just is. It always is every year in November. So Call of Duty for now, I'm going to slot in as number 1 with the chance that Grand Theft Auto could overtake it. Number 2 for the month, I think it's probably going to be Battlefield, even with a rough beta. I think probably Battlefield for number 2. Number 3, I could see being Pokemon. I would slot in Pokemon as number 3. I feel pretty confident about that ranking, to be honest with you. Call of Duty, number 1. Battlefield, number 2. Pokemon number 3. Feel pretty confident about that. And then after that, things get a little dicey, right? Things get a little interesting. Because keep in mind, there's going to be some sports games in here too, because people do holiday shopping. So you got to also throw in some FIFAs. There's going to be some Maddens. There's going to be some NBAs in here. So for just new releases, going to go Call of Duty number 1, Battlefield number 2, Pokemon number 3, and then I'll go Forza Horizon number 4 for new releases. Again, you could slot in some sports games in there too, but that's how I'd rank the top 4 big new releases. And then, yeah, I feel pretty confident about that. Yeah, pretty confident. Okay, let's get to some Game Pass. We've been meaning to get here. I've been waiting to get here. It was in my thumbnail because it's a big news topic. We've always wondered about Game Pass. We got some info, yo. JCat here. Benji-Sales. Game Pass missed its forecast, but why did Microsoft set it so high? What is your estimate for Game Pass subs? Could we hear actual numbers soon? All right, let's talk about Game Pass. Couple things we need to discuss. So for anyone that joined this chat later and they weren't here at the beginning, because it's a long stream, I knew it was going to be a long stream. I understand if people have bailed out of the chat by now. There was like so much news. So this was always going to be one of my longer streams. So appreciate for anyone that's still around. But let's talk about that really quick because it's a big deal. I mean, right? This is the future of Microsoft's business. So if you're just jumping in and you somehow missed this, the subscriber growth, they still grew. They still had 37% growth year over year, which is, by itself, if you just look at that in a vacuum, 37%, you're over a third growth. I mean, that looks pretty nice. The problem is that, yeah, they set a growth goal of 48%. So they missed it by basically 11%. You know, if you went around basically 10%, they missed it by. I will be honest with you. So subscriber count now with that information, it's low 20s, which actually lines up with what Jeff Grubb was saying. So there's a feather in the cap of Jeff Grubb there because he reported back when that 30 million number got thrown around, which just makes you wonder, where did Zelnick come up with 30 million? Because it ain't there. It lines up with what Grubb said. Grubb said said that they were around E3. They were in the low 20s. This would line up with that. That growth number over what they had the prior year, you're looking low 20s, right? 20, 21, 22, I don't know, somewhere in there, low 20s, right? I will tell you that's a little lower than I thought. The 30 million number seemed really high. I even tweeted about that whenever I was tweeting it. I said, if it's real, which I thought it might be because it was coming from the CEO of Take-Two, but I was like, that seems way high. I had been saying that I thought it'd be really successful this was before that number got thrown around. The number I'd been saying all year was if they can get to 30 million by the end of the year, right? Not by the middle of the year, because these numbers are from June. So these are from months ago now. But I was saying if they can hit 30 million by the time this year ends, after Halo's here, after Forza, that'd be, in my opinion, a really strong result. So whenever that number got thrown around that it was 30 million, months and months before the end of the year, I was floored. I was like, holy cow, this is way faster than I even thought they would be at 30 million. But no, they were low 20s in June. So right around E3 time, they were in the low 20s. Now, let's talk about why they missed their forecast. Because I think there's actually two prime reasons they missed it. Prime reasons why they missed their forecast. First of all, that 48% growth number was forecast before Halo Infinite was delayed, okay? So the forecast for that year had been made in June of the prior year. Halo got delayed after that. So whenever you're making a forecast for something like Game Pass, you are obviously going to be factoring in Halo's performance in that growth. Delaying Halo, basically their biggest first-party title, completely out of that window, that's going to hurt your forecast pretty friggin' hard. So I would say that's a prime contributor to why they missed their forecast. The number 2 reason why I would say is very important why they missed their forecast is simply hardware, right? The hardware is so supply constrained. I don't know if they thought maybe they'd be doing a better job of getting consoles out by now, but keep in mind, during the Series X and S launch, I forget the exact number. It was ridiculous. It might have even been as high as like 70%. It was something crazy. The attachment rate on on Game Pass to new Series X and S's sold was extremely high. So there's also a factor that maybe Microsoft thought, hey, we're selling way more consoles this year. We're going to be pumping out machines and we're going to be getting a lot of Game Passes attached to those consoles. And in reality, we've seen them struggle so hard with meeting demand, particularly Series X. Series X is so supply constrained, it's unbelievable. Like, it's pretty much around the same amount of supply constrained as PlayStation 5 is. Series S, not near as much, but the X, it's like, again, instant sellouts, just like PlayStation 5 is. So I think those are your two biggest factors why they weren't able to meet that forecast. Halo delay and the hardware issue. Now, again, it's not all sugar and rainbows, right? They missed their forecast. Missing your forecast is never a good thing. So I'm not going to tell you that everything's fine, everything's joyous, whatever. But they still had growth, which is nice. But I'll also say they are a little lower than I thought. A little lower. And this, to me, makes it more of a challenge to hit that 30 million number that I had forecast by the end of the year. Is it impossible? No, because we don't know where they're at right now, right? Keep in mind, it was low 20s, and it was in June. So they could have maybe added another million or two since then. So who knows where they're at right this second. But I would say where they're at as of June, I would have thought maybe they were more mid 20s, right? Not low 20s, maybe more mid, maybe more in that like 24, 25 million range. So 30 million might be tough now. Depends on how much Forza and Halo can drive growth. But that's kind of some of my perspective on it, and I think that makes sense, right? I think that's it makes sense then. And it wasn't a huge miss, right? It wasn't like Microsoft missed their forecast by, wow, we were like nowhere even close, right? They still had a lot of growth. It's not like, hey, we grew 10% and we forecast that we were going to grow 48%, right? Where it's just a ginormous miss. Did they miss? Yes, but it wasn't like astronomically bad miss. So they can make up a lot of that ground with Halo and Forza at the end of the year. Here's what I will say. If we didn't see huge growth after Halo and Forza, I would be extremely alarmed. I'm not super alarmed right now because of that delay, and there really wasn't first-party games to drive the service in that time frame, right? There was some cool third-party stuff, but the main draw, I think, of Game Pass is getting Microsoft's games, and there was like no big exclusives in that window. That window that we were looking at, that June to June window, they didn't really have any big games to drive the growth from first party. So I wouldn't panic, but if we saw Halo launch and Forza launch and we did not see a significant boost after this holiday, then you should be alarmed. If that happened and we saw if we saw slow growth, I'd be like, this ain't good. Like, this ain't good. It should be growing faster with your big games hitting. So we'll have to keep an eye on it, but I think that's why they missed. Okay. Long stream. You guys tell me. Do you want me to answer a few more questions or you want to wrap it up? Do you want to wrap it up or a few more? It's a long stream. We're at an hour and a half. I mean, I can still blast a few more questions if you guys want me to. If you're done, I'll wrap it. There's still so many freaking questions. I'm going to grab a few more. We still have over 50 people in chat. I'll grab a couple. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not going to hit all these questions, but I'm still going to grab a couple more because it was such a beefy chat today. And then I got to call it, okay? So just a few more, guys. And then I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you for an awesome stream, though. And I won't let my depression get the worst of me, and I will stream next week. So if I do miss your question this week, guys, we're going to be back next week. Okay? I really apologize about last week. Poor mental health's not an excuse. Should have been here. Okay. Couple more, and we're out. Camille Akulari here. I'm sorry, I probably got that way wrong. Cyberpunk 2077 and Witcher 3 Next Gen in 2022. Thoughts? Yeah, it's a bummer. I mean, I really feel like they need to get that Next Gen update for Cyberpunk out. The legs have just, basically collapsed, which I don't think is shocking. If that Next Gen patch is really good, okay, I've already said on here before, I feel like Cyberpunk is kind of beyond saving for the first game. And what I mean by that, I don't mean that they can't sell more copies, but like the reaction to that launch was so like so much blowback, and it's been quite a while now. And it's not an online game where it's like you can change the perspective by like improving the online, right? Like how we saw, for example, with like Sea of Thieves, right? That game started slow. Now it's over 25 million players and tons of people love it. This is like a single player experience. They want to do multiplayer eventually, but like Cyberpunk 2077 as we know it, you know, I feel like the story's mostly told, but I do think they could get a nice boost of sales. A boost, not like a game changer, but a boost if that patch is really good. If that thing comes out and it plays and looks awesome on PlayStation 5 and Series X, I think they'll get a nice uplift on sales. Nothing crazy to where suddenly now you see the game in the charts every single month, but I think you will see a nice boost from it. And then Witcher, you know, it'd be nice to have it out. That game has sold a massive amount of copies. But again, delayed till next year. It just continues the story of CD Projekt Red struggling, right? And I know they're not directly involved in some of this, right? Like the Witcher patch is being done by Saber Interactive. So it's not all directly under their control, but CD Projekt is in a rebuilding phase, right? They had a very rough time with Cyberpunk. I've said it before. I think as a whole, this studio can turn themselves around, but it's going to take a lot of work. And I would rather them take their time after what we saw with Cyberpunk. Take your time and make sure that Cyberpunk patch and that Witcher patch are really good, okay? So does it suck that they're delayed till next year? Yes, but it's the right call if that's what they need. All right. Couple more, 2 or 3 more, and then we're out. 2 or 3 more, and then we are out. Hilarious comment here from Split89. This doesn't count, but it's really funny. Waiting for Nicolas Cage to enter as Sam Drake to help steal the Declaration of Independence. It did, right? Am I the only one? That gave off big National Treasure vibes to me. Which I don't think is a bad comparison. Could be worse, right? Could be worse. Could be getting compared to something worse, so. Ooh, fun one here. Logan Hardy, Benji boy, your reaction on The Batman. It looked freaking incredible. Like one of the best comic book movies. Incredible. Yeah, I'm completely blown away. I mean, literally, I think that the last 2 trailers for The Batman are 2 of the best trailers I've ever seen for any comic book movie. It looks so good. And here's the thing. I want to tell you right now. If you're watching this stream and you don't, like, if you're only familiar with Robert Pattinson from Twilight, I'm telling you right now, go watch the movie The Lighthouse. Your mind will be completely changed about this guy. I'm telling you right now. He's an incredible actor. And I am a guy who used to think of him as Twilight, right? Like I was one of those guys that was like, oh, I'm not into him, right? He's Edward, you know, Edward Cullen. What kind of actor is this guy? And what actually turned me on to him was The Lighthouse. People had been saying for a while, and I wasn't watching his movies, they've been saying, hey, Robert Pattinson's like really becoming a great actor. And you guys know me, I like horror, I like psychological thrillers and things like that. Love Willem Dafoe. And The Lighthouse, when I was seeing trailers for this, I'm like, oh my God, like I have to watch this movie. It looks incredible. I watched it. Dude, Robert Pattinson can act his ass off. I'm telling you right now, the guy can freaking act. I don't know for sure that the Batman's going to be incredible, but after I watched The Lighthouse, I had zero doubt Robert Pattinson could pull it off. And the trailers look incredible. So I'm feeling good about that movie. Real good. Real good. Okay. We have one super chat, I think. So I'm going to hit that super chat. Super chat, 2 free questions, then we're done. Okay? That's how I'm going to do it. Super chat, 2 free questions, then I'm done. Let me scroll down and get to this super chat. I think I just saw one, unless I'm crazy. Pretty sure. Ryan Epps. My mans needs 10,000 subs already. How are you only at 3,000? Yeah, my YouTube grows way slower than my Twitter. I'm about to pass 30,000 on Twitter. I did not even realize that. Like, I'm probably going to pass 30,000 by next month. I don't check that super often. Some people obsess over their follower count. I do not. I check it like once every month or so. I mean, it is something I want to keep my eye on. You know, like anybody, you like to see growth, but I don't obsess over it. I did not even realize I was already over 29,000 followers. I literally noticed it last night because I randomly checked. I'm like, I wonder where I'm at. Over 29,000. I cannot even believe it. So that'll be at probably 30,000 next month or something. My Twitter or my YouTube is way slower. It's not even close, right? I mean, we're basically talking my Twitter's 10 times the size of my YouTube. But that's okay. I don't obsess over becoming YouTube famous. I just love doing these conversations. Like, honestly, I just love doing the live chat. So it don't matter. Would I like to be at 10,000 subs? Of course, right? Anybody wants to have more subscribers. But trust me when I say I'm happy with 3,000. Happy with it. We were just stalled so long close to 3 that's why I was pushing for that 3K. We were at like 2,800, 2,900. We were there for like 6 months. So that's why I started being like, let's get over 3,000 subs because it was like so close for so long. But now that we're over 3, it's all good. It'll grow eventually. Okay. So again, that's not going to count. We've got the Benji super chat. 1 or 2 more questions. I'm out. I got to go. It's a long stream. Benji here with a 5 super chat right at the end. Benji, is Sony leaving Q4 for big third-party games? God of War, Horizon, Ghost of Tsushima, The Last of Us 2, Gran Turismo 7, Forbidden West. So it's Ragnarok Q3 2022. Yeah, Benji, it does seem to be in general, not always, but in general, Sony's strategy is to kind of leave the holiday open for third parties, right? You don't see them launch a ton of games in that window. You know, they've had some pretty close. Death Stranding, if I remember right, wasn't Death Stranding a November release? So they're not like completely opposed to it, but it's not usually like, let's flood games in during the holiday, right? They kind of put a lot of their games in the early parts of the year, and you also see them do a lot of summer launches, right? Games like Horizon launched in February. We're seeing Forbidden West launch in February. Games like The Last of Us Part 2 and The Last of Us Part 1 were summer releases. Ghost of Tsushima was a summer release. So yeah, Sony in general, just in general, you know, not 100%, but in general, they seem to say, hey, leave that holiday season open for the Call of Duties, the Battlefields, the Far Cries, the, you know, whatever, the giant third-party franchises, and let's put most of our games in that first, let's say, 9 months of the year. So definitely seems to be their strategy. God of War, what I was hearing before that game was delayed, because I knew that game, I had heard a window a long time before they announced that game was delayed. So again, I don't consider myself Mr. Insider. I do hear inside information. One of the things that I was hearing a long time before that game officially got delayed was it could move as late as the summer. I don't know if it's been as delayed even more than that, but that's what I was hearing. I was hearing, this was a long time ago though, y'all. I'm telling you, this was a while back. So this could be, you know, that could be even old info. But I had heard that it could become a summer release. So keep your eyes on that. Could be a summer launch, but I would say Q3 at the latest. Yeah, I don't think they go Q4. I don't think they go Q4 for God of War. Latest, I think you see it is like September. But it could be before that. So that's what I would say. It's not going to be earlier, I don't think, than June. And I don't think it'll be later than September. So June to September, I would say, and that could be wrong. It could be May, but June to September would be what I would expect. Somewhere in there. Oh, Highlander had a super chat? I apologize. Highlander! I'm so sorry. So sorry, Highlander. Thank God I saw that. I don't ever want to miss a super chat. Okay, Highlander 001 with a 5. Do you see more third-party games going to Game Pass day and date? And do you see Sony trying to improve PS Now? Yes. So Game Pass is going to get a lot more day and date third-party games. Just a matter of which ones they can lock down. Grub, I think, said that they have billions. allocated for day one third-party games, which is crazy, but not shocking to me. So, yeah, you're going to see more. The problem for Microsoft is they got to convince a company to do it. I don't think the issue right now with getting a third-party game day one on Game Pass has anything to do with pocketbooks. I think Microsoft's willing to spend the money. The question is if they can convince the studio or the publisher to do it, right? Like, I think Microsoft's got the checks, and I think they want to sign the checks, but they got, like you've heard Marshall Zelnick, you heard Take-Two themselves say, we don't want to launch games day one on Game Pass, right? They clearly support Game Pass. They put their biggest games on it. Grand Theft Auto has been on Game Pass. Red Dead Redemption 2 has been on Game Pass. Red Dead Online right now is on Game Pass, but it's not day one, right? So clearly they're up for supporting it, but just not launching on it. That I think is the problem. The problem is Microsoft has the money. They got the checks. They want to write the checks, but they got to convince the studio that it's worth it. So will they convince some to do it? Yeah. You know, Back 4 Blood has been a huge success on Game Pass. I mean, the performance of Back 4 Blood is amazing, y'all. Amazing on Game Pass. We're talking this game is number 2 most popular on console, only behind Minecraft, which is high, dude. Like, basically nothing passes Minecraft. It's basically always number 1. And then on PC, it's like number 2. And on most played on Xbox in the US, I mean, it went all the way up. The only games ahead of it were free-to-play games like Warzone and Apex. So it's done great. So there will be games that you will see. Yeah, more are going to come day and date. But right now, Microsoft has to convince these studios it's worth it to do it. And will Sony improve PS Now? Yeah, they have to. They have to. Subscriptions are becoming too important. I don't know exactly what they're going to do there. People ask all the time, how is Sony going to compete with Game Pass? Are they going to have their own Game Pass where we see games day one? I truly don't know. They have to do something. They need more subscribers. PS Now's growth is very slow. Like, people want to kind of, you're seeing some people bash Microsoft for missing their forecast. Again, missing your forecast is never great, but like Game Pass growth compared to PS Now growth, we are literally talking a night and day difference. Like, PS Now's growth is, I mean, as slow as molasses compared to Game Pass. So they got to do something. They got to do something to get those PS Now subs up. So yeah, they'll do something. All right, one free question and I'm out. I'm just going to randomly pick one. I apologize. We've been going almost 2 hours. So I literally cannot go longer. One more and I'm out. It's going to be random. If I missed your question, I apologize. Bring it back next week. Let me hit Danger Man. Danger Man asked a bunch. And I didn't get to a Danger Man question. Danger Man's always in chat. So let me hit a Danger Man question. Oh, I think I did hit it, Danger Man. I think he's saying I did hit it. Okay. Yeah. So we're good. We're good. I hit Danger Man. So somebody else. Well, maybe I didn't miss any, really. A lot of comments. I don't know if I really missed too many questions. But we might be good. Might be good. Okay, here we go. Daniel will get the last one. Random one, but here we go. There's a rumor that Blue Point is working on Bloodborne Remaster. Do you think it's true? I have no idea. Here's the thing. I've said it all the time on this chat. Sony is making a big mistake if they don't do anything with Bloodborne. Whether it's a remake, whether it's a remaster, whether that's a sequel, do not leave that IP dormant. It's a big mistake. It's a big mistake. So, Bloodborne, again, is it the biggest seller in the world? No, but sometimes it's just about making that hardcore base happy, right? So, not always. You got to have some big, giant commercial successes. You got to have some big, whatevers. But just like we saw Nintendo with Metroid Dread, right? Is Metroid Dread going to sell as much as Animal Crossing? No, right? It's going to sell a few million copies, and it's going to be profitable. It's not going to be a giant game, but nice, right? And you're making those hardcore fans, right? Those Metroid hardcore Nintendo fans happy. Sometimes you got to do that, all right? Bloodborne, it needs to happen. If it's a remaster, if it's a remake, if it's a full-on sequel, Sony owns the IP. Find a way to make it happen. All right, everyone, I'm going to call it there. Thank you so much for a great chat. It was a huge chat today. Thank you. Like the video if you like doing these chats. Helps the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to me if you're not already. I appreciate the subs. Follow me on Twitter if you don't. Odds are like 99% here. If you're here, you do follow me on Twitter. But do if you don't already. And we're going to wrap it there. Thanks for a great chat. Thanks for a great turnout. Thank you, everyone. I hope you have an amazing day. I hope you have an awesome evening. And I hope you have an amazing week. I will see you either on Twitter if you follow me there, or if you only follow me here on YouTube. I'll see you next week. We will be back. We'll be rocking, and I will see everyone soon. Bye, everybody. Have a great day. Bye. Peace. Bye, 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 bye.